and welcome to Markets Today with me, Luqman Hariz, where we discuss market happenings of the day and dissect analysts' opinions on the counters that matter. It is 5:45 p.m. on the 17th of May. The ringgit closed at 4.3238 against the US dollar today. The FBM KLCI closed 2.5 points lower at 1,775.65. Petronas Gas is amongst the significant movers in the local market today, and befittingly, we've got a story about them and also sister company PetDAC. Let's take a look. Petronas Chemicals reported a 42% increase in revenue for its first quarter of 2017. The petrochemicals company saw revenue at 4.75 billion ringgit for the period, compared to 3.35 billion ringgit in the same period last year. PetChem also saw a significant 106% increase in its net profit from 671 million ringgit in the first quarter of FY16 to 1.38 billion ringgit in first quarter FY17. This has spurred a whopping 120% increase in its PATAMI to 1.3 billion ringgit for the first quarter. PetChem's positive results is largely contributed by its high plant utilization rate, which stood at 99% for the first quarter. Meanwhile, sister company Petronas Gas's results were much more subdued. The company recorded a 3.4% revenue increase year-on-year in the first quarter to 1.16 billion ringgit. PetGas's net profit for the quarter saw a 3.6% increase to 463 million ringgit. All of PetGas's business segments posted sequential EBIT growth, as the company's overall performance for the first quarter were largely within consensus expectations. Well, out of the two, PetChem seems to be the standout performer, while sister PetGas has largely been average and within expectations for this first quarter. If you're just to take a quick look at PetGas's basic numbers for the quarter, generally the upward trend was sustained across the basic numbers, including revenue, which went up 3.4% year-on-year to 1.17 billion ringgit, and also net profit increased by a similar margin, 3.6% compared to the first quarter of FY16. This is despite EBITDA and pre-tax profit seeing marginal contractions. Now, it is worthy to note that PetGas's net profit was spurred by stronger than expected associate earnings, largely believed to be from its JV in the Kimanis power plant in Sabah. PetGas owns 60% of that one. According to CIMB research, they believe that better operating performance at the Kimanis power plant lifted PetGas's associate contribution by 189% year-on-year. It's been a fairly unremarkable first quarter for PetGas, and I don't necessarily mean that in a bad way. But still, I foresee two distinct factors that could make the company go either way. First is the implementation of third-party access, or TPA. Under this new TPA, PetGas's earnings from its transportation and regasification segments could be affected, as these two segments would fall under the purview of regulators instead of presently being dictated by direct agreements with parent company Petronas. Maybank Kim Eng expects the transportation and regasification segments contribute about 60% of PetGas's EBIT at the current moment. There are conflicting opinions on whether this would provide downside risks to PetGas earnings moving forward. We shall see. But for now, CIMB expects a potential 40% downside to their forecast of PetGas's EPS as a result of the TPA. Second is its Kimanis JV. Although better operating performance at Kimanis is said to have contributed to overall earnings for this first quarter, the JV is currently locked in arbitration proceedings with Sabah Electricity over alleged PPA breaches. The Sabah-based operations of PetGas and Tenaga are both seeking claims of more than 80 million ringgit against each other, while Kimanis is claiming for 83 million ringgit and SESB is counterclaiming for 124 million ringgit. It really could go either way. The case would likely be long drawn. PetGas has not made any provisions. This could potentially contribute unnecessary downside risks but we shall wait and see. Now on to its sister company PetChem, who have reported much more significant numbers for the first quarter. PetChem's revenue increased 41.9% year-on-year, EBITDA went up 63%, pre-tax profit increased 83%, and its reported net profit 106%. PATAMI also went up a significant 120%. Now, the big thing about PetChem for the first quarter was plant utilization. This was the main factor of such positive results for the company, pushing its net profit to reach 5% above consensus expectations and also driving higher EBITDA margins. While other elements contributed as well, such as cost savings and lower utility consumption on per unit product basis and also efficiency gains on manufacturing costs. But utilization was the main star of the quarter for me. For the first quarter, PetChem recorded a 99% plant utilization rate, and according to data from Maybank Kim Eng, as you can see there, it has managed a more than 90% plant utilization rate for the past 5 successive quarters. This is the first time that PetChem has managed to achieve this feat in its history. Its O&D, or Olefins and Derivatives Group, and F&M, Fertilizer and Methanol Group, saw solid plant utilization rates, with O&D seeing a 32% net profit increase quarter-on-quarter and F&M rising 37% in that same period. And to me, another expected downside risk for PetChem going forward is the global outlook for ethylene. PetChem is an ethylene-driven producer with over 50% of its net profit driven from ethylene and derivatives, and the capacity for this is expected to continue outstripping demand. Also, ethylene prices and margins could potentially weaken given the upcoming 8 metric ton per annum new supply from US shale gas-based ethane crackers at the end of this year, which have been on track to actually restart. But the bad news is that despite the brilliant results, PetChem's performance may have peaked in the first quarter, as there are several expected headwinds moving forward. One of it is its plant turnaround activities, which will affect those plants' utilization rates. There's 3. The MTBE plant, which has just undergone a turnaround totaling 42 days, is expected to have a resulting utilization rate of low 90% for the second quarter of FY17. The Kerteh plant, which will undergo turnaround in the third quarter, will see its utilization rate affected and be around 80 to 85% in that quarter. And the methanol plant 1 in Labuan, which will go through turnaround activities in fourth quarter of this year, will also have a resulting utilization rate of low 90% for that particular quarter. These are all expected to provide downside risks for PetChem's earnings for the coming quarters for this financial year. So despite the positive numbers from PetChem, there's a lot of reasons to believe that their earnings may have peaked and could go down moving forward because of these factors. Well, at least that's my educated guess. Mark Studio will be right back. After this, we'll discuss whether Trump's firing of James Comey hints of further policy uncertainties. Don't go away.